What does it mean when the so-called second most powerful army in the world quietly starts asking for its own weapons back, not buying new ones, not showing off new technology, asking for old ones back? It's like a desperate pawn shop customer trying to buy back their wedding ring because their house is on fire. And that is exactly what's happening. Russia is no longer just running out of tanks, drones, and excuses. It's running out of something even more alarming: prestige. The once mighty Kremlin has done the unthinkable. It approached Turkey and asked for the return of the S-400 missile system that Turkey bought years ago. Yes, you heard that right. Weapons they once sold proudly, the crown jewel of their defense exports, are now being begged for like a country trying to reclaim its own heirloom because they have nothing left. Back in 2019, this was a $2.5 billion deal. It was more than a sale. It was a geopolitical statement. Russia flexing its power by putting advanced missile systems inside a NATO member state's arsenal. Moscow wanted to show the world that its weapons could rival anything the West could offer. And now they're asking for them back. This isn't just about one deal. This is about what it represents. Russia's military stockpiles have been drained to such an extent that they are scavenging their own exports, clawing back the very systems they once bragged about. That is not the behavior of a confident power. That is the behavior of a regime quietly panicking. And the excuse they gave is almost insulting. Russian officials claimed the S-400s are unsuitable for Turkey because they are incompatible with NATO systems. But everyone knew that from day one. It was the whole point: defiance. It was this very incompatibility that got Turkey kicked out of the F-35 fighter jet program. So why the sudden change of heart? Because Moscow is desperate. They're not innovating. They're not producing enough. They are now reverse shopping from their own catalog. And here's the twist: Turkey isn't playing along. While Russia is frantically trying to patch its military shortfalls, Turkey is quietly building its own new air defense systems and signaling that it wants back into the Western defense orbit at once. Risked leaving. The symbolism is brutal. Turkey is building a new dome while Russia's entire roof, militarily, economically, politically, is caving in. The Kremlin wanted the world to see Russia as an invincible arms empire. Instead, it's now behaving like a collapsing one, calling former clients and hoping they haven't resold the crown jewels on the open market. This plea to Ankara is not just about hardware. It's a confession that something deeper is broken. Because when a nation that claimed to have limitless arsenals starts asking for refunds on its own prestige weapons, it means the machine that fuels everything, production, funding, logistics, confidence, and is broken down, and the cracks are becoming visible everywhere. Recently, Volodymyr Zelensky made a remark that, while half joking, hit the truth. During the visit of U.S. Special Representative Keith Kellogg, Zelensky quipped that every time the general visits Kyiv, people sleep a little safer. He even joked about offering him citizenship or an apartment just to keep him around. It sounded lighthearted, but the subtext was deadly serious. Visibility has become Ukraine's shield. Whenever Western representatives are present, Russia dares not strike. That alone shows how fragile Moscow's supposedly fearless posture really is. Power isn't just missiles. Power is alliances, diplomacy, cameras that refuse to look away. And that's what terrifies the Kremlin. That's why Russian state media exploded with fury after Kellogg's visit. Propagandists ranted on TV, calling the visits provocations, even demanding Russia launch strikes during them to prove no one is safe. This isn't just noise. This is threat theater. It's propaganda designed to make escalation seem inevitable. When Russian commentators joke about turning Kyiv streets into nautical charts marked with X's, those aren't harmless quips, and they normalize the idea of mass violence. Analysts have warned for years this rhetoric is preparation, moral, cover for bombing civilians. But here's the revealing part. Despite the bluster, Russia flinches. Those Western visits that enrage state TV also paralyze the Russian military. The presence of just one high-profile Western envoy dramatically reduces the chance of Russian airstrikes. Not because of new weapons or magical shields, but because the Kremlin is terrified of killing an American or European official. That fear of consequences, of escalation, of exposure, that is proof the empire is hollow. This is the paradox. Zelensky's joke was actually Moscow's accidental confession. Visibility is deterrence. And that's something Russia can't bomb away. And as the military facade crumbles, the economic rot behind it becomes impossible to hide. For decades, arms exports were one of Russia's few reliable hard currency lifelines. Selling cutting-edge systems to Turkey, India, Egypt, and China masked dysfunction in other sectors. Now those exports are evaporating because Moscow is clawing them back to fill holes in its own stockpiles. Instead of earning foreign currency, Russia is bleeding it. Instead of expanding influence, it is cannibalizing it. And every time they reclaim an export, they send a signal to future buyers. Don't trust us, we might take it back. That single perception could destroy decades of Russia's defense trade credibility. This is what economic collapse looks like from the inside. Not with a single explosion, but with quiet reversals. Factories go idle, stockpiles shrink, deals are undone. It looks like begging for old weapons while pretending it's about compatibility. It looks like roaring on TV about striking cities while quietly holding back when a Western camera is nearby. It looks like pretending to be strong while knowing the cupboard is bare, and even Russia's closest partners are hedging their bets. Turkey, once seen as Moscow's great coup inside NATO, is signaling that it wants back into the Western fold. It's investing in its own defenses, talking to Washington again, and even hinting at rejoining the F-35 program it was kicked out of. Moscow thought the S-400 sale would be a triumph. Instead, it became a tombstone. Turkey is moving on. Russia is moving backward. This is why the S-400 reversal matters, because it's not about one missile system. It's about the collapse of an illusion. For years, the Kremlin sold the world a story that Russia was a resurgent great power, an industrial giant cloaked in steel, that it could produce limitless tanks, missiles, and aircraft, that its economy was sanction-proof. But when power is real, it doesn't beg for refunds. It doesn't call old clients for hand-me-downs. It doesn't scream threats on TV while avoiding real confrontation. What we're seeing now is the mask slipping. The military machine that was supposed to awe the world is scavenging its own exports. The propaganda machine that was supposed to terrify enemies is now shouting into the void, hoping someone still believes, and the economic engine that was supposed to power it all is grinding to a halt, one desperate phone call at a time. This is not strength. This is collapse, slow, desperate, and public. When the Kremlin asks for its old missiles back, it isn't just revealing a shortage of hardware. It's confessing a shortage of future, because you cannot rebuild an empire by clawing back the scraps you once sold. You cannot project power when your only export left is fear, and even that is failing. The world is watching Moscow try to rewind history, and it's not working. Turkey will not return to Russia's orbit. The West will not look away, and Ukraine will not stop resisting. Each S-400 clawed back will be a trophy, not of strength, but of surrender. And every desperate move to patch the holes will only reveal how deep the collapse has gone. This is what it looks like when a regime runs out of not just weapons, not just money, but time.